What's going on, gamers? Today we're going to be diving into a bit more Diablo 4 and I'm going to be going over a little bit of an overview of the Overkill weapon for the barbarian class, an absolutely devastating mace that's a lot of fun to see in action and can do a massive amount of damage. So if that interests you, stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Overkill Unique weapon that can drop in Diablo 4. This is for the barbarian class and it absolutely lives up to its name. It does a lot of damage, but I would say it's probably a little bit more niche than some of the other weapons you can get hold of. What I'm going to chuck on a little bit of gameplay for you, show you what it's all about, and then afterwards we'll go over the stats and what exactly you'll be using it for. Right, so hopefully from that you can see this is a lot of fun to use. It can dish out some crazy damage. I did not have a perfect build, but I had one set up to use it a little bit and I could really see those numbers rolling in. At endgame, once you've got a perfect build set up, I could see this hitting easily upwards of millions, probably upwards of 10 million if you've got a perfect build, and it really is a weapon that you'll be trying to set up with and then use it to knock the enemy down. So the unique item itself is this one right here, the Overkill, an ancestral unique two-handed mace, and it's obviously a bludgeoning weapon. As standard, it will always come with your overpower damage maxed out, and then after that it's going to come with physical damage, overpower damage, damage to injured, and then critical strike chance against enemies. It's also, and the main reason you're going to be using this, comes with deathblow, creates a shockwave dealing a set amount of damage between 16 to 30% of its base damage to enemies, and this resets deathblow's cooldown as well when you get that kill. This weapon is a lot of fun to use, it really is. But it does tend to be one that's a little bit niche. Not everyone's going to be putting it in their barbarian playstyle or build, because it does mean you will have to have deathblow in your arsenal. If you're not thinking about using deathblow, this will not even be on your agenda, put it to one side. But if you love deathblow and you love trying to build that up, trying to get that massive hit, especially on bosses, because if I go over to the abilities, deathblow as standard will give you the most damage out of all of your skills. Like I said, it can be a bit harder to set up, it's going to do a massive amount of damage, and if you manage to defeat your enemies with it, you're going to reset it straight away and the charge is going to be refunded. Of course, enhanced deathblow, one of the great things about deathblow, means you're going to get 100% increased damage to bosses. And the one I like to use, warrior's deathblow, if deathblow damages at least one enemy, you're going to gain berserking for 3 seconds. Or the other one will be to give you a little bit of extra fury whenever you're hitting enemies with it. Deathblow is a devastating move to use. Try to set it up, then do a big swing with it and take those enemies out, and is especially very effective against those bosses. One thing I would say is that this can be a bit harder to build around, because a lot of times you'll be going for crit damage or you'll be going for kind of overall damage, and most times I'd probably say you're not going to be factoring in damage to injured, whereas this one does come with it as standard, which you can't change unfortunately. But you do a lot of damage with the additional effect that Deathblow creates a shockwave, so it does kind of even things out and becomes a kind of makeshift between Hammer of the Ancients and Upheaval. Ultimately, I think this is an amazing weapon to have. If you drop it, try to fit it into your build. It might be a bit harder to go up in tiers. I'm not sure if you'll be able to do this very end game, make it viable. I'm hoping you can, but at the moment with what I've got kitted out in my arsenal, I'm only able to do around about tier 42 with those nightmare dungeons. Also, in comparison to Hotar, I think it's quite a bit harder to make work, although I feel you may well be able to make it hit those kind of numbers, like around about 10 million, maybe even higher. Also, I would say this will probably be one of the only ways, or one of the only ways you'd be able to achieve if you're trying to make an actual overpower build. You're going to want to try and make sure you get a lot of overpower with this. You have a way to generate it, for example bash, and then let loose with this and do a massive amount of damage. Two aspects I would definitely recommend. The first one I'd say is probably essential. It's going to be this one right here. After spending 100 fury, your next weapon mastery skill is going to deal a certain amount of increased damage, and this can be boosted all the way up to 100% on a standard weapon, or if you put it on your double hander it can reach up to 200%. That's how you're able to see those crazy numbers. Also, a nice one would be this one as well. Your weapon mastery skills have an additional charge, and damaging an enemy with a weapon mastery skill has up to a set amount of chance to stun them for 2 seconds. Quite a bit goes on with Barbarian's kit around stun, doing additional damage with stun. This factors in nicely, and it gives you an extra chance. If you miss with the attack or don't get the kill, then at least this will give you a chance to try and get it and reset it again. Overall, I found this to be really good to work into a playstyle. It won't be to everyone's taste, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit off meta, this may well be something you want to pick up. There'll be a lot more content from me on the way. I'll be showing you a few more uniques and going over some tips as well as some build guides as soon as I'm able to get a little bit higher and put everything in place. As always, for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.